Life has different ways of making your actions come back to you. You do someone wrong, and there's a high possibility that it might come back to you. Mike didn't believe in karma, or that a person's actions would come to them. He didn't think the universe cared enough to go through all that. There are 7 billion people on this planet, and you're telling Mike that the universe cared about all of them to throw their actions back at them? Yeah, he didn't believe that. Typically, just like every other thing in his life, it turned its back on him. He got exactly what he deserved, and he couldn't help but think that maybe he had been wrong, because why did his life suddenly turn upside down as soon as he hurt someone? He wouldn't have done it if he felt guilty, but he didn't. Mike was incredibly selfish, and there was a point in his life when he didn't care about anyone or anything. Obviously, that didn't work in his favor. Mike was a pretty successful man. He had been working in a gaming company as a developer and was actually a team manager. He got decent days off, his salary was good, and his friends and work environment were terrific. Most people wouldn't look at him and think he was married with 2 kids. He liked to care for himself. He regularly hit the gym, made sure his diet was proper, and spent a lot of money trying to take care of his skin. He wasn't a guy who was scared of taking care of himself. He was pretty confident in his masculinity, and even though many of his friends made fun of him for that, Mike didn't back off. He believed that guys who didn't take care of themselves because they thought it was too feminine had fragile masculinity. He couldn't blame them, though, because he was like that at one point, too. He was only so confident in his body and mind because of his wife, Isabella. Isabella, or Bella for short, was a tall blonde woman who had been through thick and thin with Mike. She was a stay-at-home wife who took care of the 2 kids at home while Mike went to work, like any average family. Although what most people didn't know was that Bella had also gone to college and gotten a degree in fashion design. She planned to get a degree and work for a firm to get exposure, which would help her in her future plans of opening her own boutique. That dream had gone down the drain after a few years when she got married. Mike had told her there was no use trying to work so hard when he could earn for both of them. She had been hesitant. Who doesn't like to be financially independent? But she had agreed nonetheless. It was beneficial after they had kids, since it was a full-time job to take care of them, and Bella didn't want a nanny to take care of her child. Even though she quit her job, she felt immense gratitude for it, not because it was her passion and something she really enjoyed doing, but because it made her meet Mike in the first place. Mike and Bella had first seen each other at a formal party that both companies had held together because the CEOs of both companies were in happily married relationships. Sometimes, those 2 companies even worked together, with Bella's company designing the dresses for the characters in their new games. At first, Bella had thought that Mike was an arrogant guy. That's the impression that he gave off when you first saw him. She planned on staying out of his path, not wanting anything to ruin this night for her. But the universe wasn't on her side, because as soon as she had thought to stay clear of him, he had appeared right in front of her. Apparently, he was part of the best team in their company, and Bella was part of the best team in hers. Both CEOs had made sure to make the teams meet in case they would have to work together in the future, and so Mike had sat down right next to her chair, sipping on his white wine while glancing at Bella occasionally. Bella had gotten super annoyed with how he was acting, thinking he was better than her and looking at her like she didn't deserve his time, but she soon realized that his face looked like that the whole time. They talked when Bella told him to stop staring at her and keep his eyes to himself. Mischief twinkled in his eyes when he heard that before explaining that his face was naturally like that. The only reason he was staring at her was that he thought she was beautiful and she needed to get the hint. Bella felt it was a foolish way to get her attention, but it worked, so she couldn't say anything. Soon after, they both exchanged each other's numbers and promised to text the next day. That promise hadn't been broken because Bella had received a text from Mike as soon as they were out of this place, and they had spent the entire night talking about the most random things. Their entire week had gone by, texting each other whenever they were free, and sometimes even during work hours, although Mike had been busy on a project, so he didn't reply as quickly as he would before or after work hours. Still, they made time for each other and talked frequently. After a week or so of regular texting and phone calls, they finally set up a date. It had been Mike to initiate the date, and Bella was very excited. She knew that my good plan would always be top-notch, so she wasn't apprehensive about it, but she didn't know that he tended to go very fancy very quickly. As she expected, he had gone all out on the date, planning a dinner in a fine dining restaurant that Bella would have thought twice before stepping in. While Mike had dressed in a white dress shirt and black pants, Bella was dressed in a sparkly blue dress that showed her curves perfectly and made her look outstanding. When Mike came to pick her up, he told her that she looked gorgeous, and it would be like saying that, but I didn't feel like they were jumping around in her stomach. She could practically feel the heat going up to her cheeks and turning them rosy, and she was sure that Mike had also noticed him because now he was holding a slight smirk on his face. "Thank you. You don't look too bad yourself," she told him, surprised at the confidence she was emitting. They had bought ordered steak and wine in hand, spent their dinner in a healthy and comfortable environment. She had never been this comfortable on a first date, and was sure that Mike's calm presence had much to do with it rather than her own feelings. The date had gone wonderfully, and the second date was planned almost instantly. Mike was so wonderful. Bella had fallen in love really quickly. They had moved on much quicker than expected, but they weren't complaining. It felt like they were meant for each other at this point, and it'd be foolish on both their parts if they were to refuse that. They had been dating for around 2 years before Mike proposed to her. It had been around October, the perfect fall weather for a proposal. They had planned a date on the beach, and as cliché as it sounds, that's when Mike had brought out the ring. It had been a bit chilly, and Bella thought it would be a casual date, so she had brought out her most comfortable outfit for the day, a pair of shorts and her tie-dye shirt she wore everywhere. She wasn't expecting there to be anything fancy, but looking at Mike wearing one of his fancy outfits, she did feel a little out of place, but not too much. Mike was known to be a fancy guy. They had been walking across the beach after having a dinner picnic while watching the sunset when it happened. Bella enthusiastically talked about one of the projects she had gotten when she noticed that Mike had stopped walking alongside her. She looked back to see him again on his knees, holding a ring in his hand, face glowing and smile radiating. She gasped, hand shooting towards her mouth as her eyes started tearing up. His speech was so beautiful, even he cried. The engagement lasted for over 4 months before they got married. The preparations took most of the time, and with both of them. Working, it had gotten a little hectic, but it was all worth it when Mike saw Bella walk through the aisle for the first time. She looked so beautiful in her white dress. He wondered how he got so lucky, but he wasn't going to complain. Their first kiss and dance had all been so painstakingly beautiful that neither wanted the day to end. They had finally gotten their happy ending, and they didn't think there was going to be something that would make them more content than that. There had been something. They had been trying for a while to have a baby, and when they finally managed, it was easily one of the most memorable days of their lives. After around 3 years of a happy married life, they were blessed with a son. They had named him Samuel, or Sam for short. He was such a calm child. It felt like raising him was the easiest thing they had to do, and that encouraged them to try again. Bella wanted a big family, while Mike wanted 1 child. Ultimately, they had settled on having 2. Their daughter was born when Sam was 3 years old. Bella had tried to name her after her mom, so they had called the girl Hallie. Although 3 years younger than Sam, Hallie used to rule over him, but he didn't seem to mind. Sam thought his baby sister was the most adorable person on his planet, and even though he was a child, he made sure that he would protect her from everything and took care of her better than Mike and Bella had predicted. But they were proud of him. Hallie was somewhat of a troubled child, always causing messes and then getting out of it by giggling adorably. It took a lot of effort to handle her, but she was loved greatly, so it hadn't been a problem. For almost a decade, they had been a happy family, the kind of family you would see in TV shows. The kind who always cared for each other, loved each other, and never had anything wrong done to them in their lives. It all went down the drain when Bella discovered that Mike had been cheating on her for over a year with someone from work. The kids were 9 and 12 then, and Bella didn't want them to go through a broken family, so she endured and forgave Mike. At that time, she had no choice but to take whatever Mike threw her way because she had stopped working when the kids were born. As mentioned earlier, she didn't want to have her kids grow up without their parents home, so she sacrificed giving up her job. Mike had supported her decision. He had encouraged Bella to leave her career to become a stay-at-home mother, telling her how important it was for the children to grow up with their parents available for them. It had been harsh in the beginning. She had nothing to do all day, and there was only so much she could do while her kids played or napped. But slowly, she had gotten used to it and used her time to do other chores in the house. However, this decision did not work in her favor when she found another girl's number in her husband's phone saved with a heart. It seemed like he had forgotten to change his password, allowing Bella to sneak into his phone while he was showering. She usually wasn't one to check her partner's phone, but it was something that had been bothering her for a long time. Mike had started coming home really late, smelling like a perfume that Bella would never use, and was always on his phone, texting someone. But when Bella would try and look or ask him what he was doing, he would get super defensive and would try to get away from her. This caused her to doubt him even when she didn't want to, because she loved Mike too much to believe that he would do something like this to her. Of course, she had been wrong because it was the same girl that Mike talked about all the time, saying she was a fantastic colleague and always praising her. It did cause Bella to get jealous, and she tried to communicate it to Mike, but he had just told her that she was being ridiculous and nothing was going on between the two of them, causing Bella to feel stupid for doubting him in the first place. The day she confronted Mike, he genuinely looked apologetic for what he had done and promised to stop seeing the girl Susan again. Bella didn't want to believe him, but he gave her a look she couldn't refuse. She loved him too much to let him go, even if he didn't love her the same way. She wanted to try and get the love back so much that she started putting in extra effort to appeal to Mike. She dressed better, got her hair done, took extra care of him and the kids, and did everything she thought Mike would like. She later realized that she was doing too much for the wrong person. It hadn't been her fault that her husband had cheated on her. It had nothing to do with her, but she still let her insecurities get the best of her, so she followed what her mind told her. It had been going fine after that. Both of the kids had no idea what their father had done and continued to live in oblivion, thinking that their family was perfect, with no broken pieces or cracks in them. How would they know that their ideal family's damages were barely held together now, on the verge of falling apart any minute? For a while, Mike had been perfectly fine. He had been a good husband and a fantastic father. It was like he was the same Mike in their lives previously. He took Bella out on date night and took the kids for ice cream and a perfect time for the family. It felt like he genuinely regretted what he had done, and he was trying to make an effort to calm things down. He even took the entire family on holiday during summer, and the kids said it was their best summer. Bella wanted it to last forever. She wanted her family to be perfect for as long as they were alive. She had high hopes this time, trusting Mike not to do anything like that again, that he would be better. She noticed that he had stopped coming home smelling like another woman. He stopped spending too much time on his phone and gave his family first priority in everything. But things never lasted long, and Bella learned the true meaning of once a cheater, always a cheater. It had been around a year since that had happened. The kids are now 10 and 13. It felt like it had happened so long ago that they shouldn't remember it. That 1 year after that was one of the happiest years in that family's lives, even if it had been false. Why false? Because Mike had returned to his old habits and returned to Susan as soon as he managed to gain Bella's trust again. For his plan to work, Bella needed to trust him completely, like she had when they married. Bella didn't think Mike could stoop any lower than he already had when he cheated for the first time. But just like she'd been wrong about everything else, she had been wrong about this. Mike was a selfish man, and nothing Bella and the kids said or could change his mind. Bella really thought that he wouldn't go back to being the same emotionless, unavailable man that he was during the time he was dating Susan. She felt if not his love for Bella, at least the love he held for his kids would change his mind. But clearly they had no influence over his decisions. Mike was the kind of guy to drop everything he had if given to opportunity to try something new and better. Bella had noticed it with little things like dropping a project because he got bored of it, ditching his friends if he got invited to something better, and throwing things out to make space for the new things he would get. But she didn't think he could do that with his family as well. That wasn't normal, was it? After a year of living happily, Mike started showing hints of getting bored with his family, talking about how he needed something new and adventurous in his life. That should have been all the hint that Bella should have required, but she liked to live in a world of possibilities and hopes. For Bella, her world was all rainbows and bursts of sunshine, looking at the best in people even if most of them were rotten, exactly like she had done with Mike in the past few years. Usually, the first thing Mike did when he came home from work was to give the kids a hug and ask about their day, but he didn't do that anymore. He didn't even greet them properly after returning, usually ignoring the kids when they would be telling him about his day and instead putting his full attention on his phone. He started coming home late again, excusing it by saying he was working on a project that was taking too much of his time and had stopped spending time with the kids and Bella. One time, Bella tried to talk to him about it, telling him how upset the kids were feeling and that he should be considerate to at least give them an hour of his day. Still, he told her he was too busy to spend time with him and that they'd have to get used to it significantly because they were growing up. Another toxic habit that Mike had was flaunting the fact that he was the bread earner of this family, talking about how they'd all be living in poverty if it weren't for him, and how thankful and grateful they should be instead of complaining about it all the time. Bella had thought to tell her parents everything that was happening and had happened in the past, knowing she could really use their support right now. Still, a part of her brain told her that she'd be stressing her parents out for no reason. The thought that their baby girl was being treated this way would kill them, and they'd probably tell her to leave Mike and come back home. But again, she didn't want her kids to go through that in their lives. However, her perception had to change when she came home one night after picking up the kids from a friend's birthday party to find that her husband was nowhere to be seen, all his clothes and belongings gone. No note, no car, and only a text that said, "I'm happier with Susan now. I'll send the divorce papers soon. I'm sorry. P.S. Sorry for taking all the money, but I earned it." He took all the money? Bella rushed to the safe in their room and opened it to see it was completely empty, not even a single dollar inside. She took out her phone to check the bank app, only to see that he had taken all the money out, leaving Bella with nothing. What was she going to do now? She needed to have a place to stay. She needed money to be able to afford the mortgage for this place. How was she going to feed her kids? What was she going to do? She tried calling Mike multiple times, but it went to voicemail. She tried texting him, but they wouldn't go through. She even tried to see if she had Susan's number somewhere so she could contact her and ask her to let Bella contact Mike. But just like she expected, she didn't find anything about her, not even her ID on social media. Bella was stressed to the max now. No job, no home, and no money to feed the kids. What would she do now? Trying her hardest not to break down in front of her kids, who were standing by the door, eyes wide, glistening due to unshed tears, and she knew they had figured out what happened. They were old enough to understand now, but that didn't mean Bella wanted them to know what happened. She vowed to protect her kids from everything evil, and she would stick to it. Taking a deep breath in and forming a fist so her hands would stop shaking, she shook her head to clear her thoughts before going to her kids, bending down to their height and embracing them as tight as she could. As long as she had her kids with her, she would keep fighting. She would make their lives better and not let a man who was too cowardly to be a father ruin life for them. Shushing them and reassuring them that everything was going to be okay, she guided them toward their respective bedrooms, kissing them on the forehead and getting them ready for bed. Even while she was making sure they brushed their teeth and changed into their pajamas, she could feel that the environment was tense. She was trying her best to make them laugh and make them feel less anxious than they did. She could carry all the burden herself, but didn't want her kids to be on their small, fragile shoulders. After putting them to bed and coming out to the living room, Bella plopped down on the couch, rubbing a hand over her face and trying to collect her thoughts. There were so many things she needed to consider moving forward. The house only had enough groceries to last them a day or two, a maximum of 3 if they tried cutting their meals down. No job would hire her and pay her this quickly, and this well that she'd be able to afford the house's mortgage, the expenses of 2 children, and all the essentials they needed to survive. Not knowing who else to go to, She grabbed her phone and dialed their number. "Hey, Mom," she said as her mom picked up the voice, her voice shaking even though she was trying so hard to calm herself down. As soon as her mom heard her voice, she knew something was wrong. How could she not? Moms have a gift of knowing how their child is feeling, and with how close Bella and her mom were, it'd be shocking if she didn't know what she was feeling. They had always been close, ever since Bella was a kid. Her mom made sure to take time out to take Bella on a walk every day, calling it the mother-daughter bonding time and doing everything she could to make the walk as exciting as possible. Sometimes they'd try a new route or pick up an activity they could do while they went on walks, feeding ducks, playing games, asking riddles, getting ice cream, anything she could do to ensure that they would have a good time. Some days when both of them felt a different sense of calmness, they would talk about their day, how they were feeling, or if anything was bothering them. Her mom had never been the kind to hide how she was feeling, although the extent to which she'd tell Bella what was happening would depend on how old she was. As Bella kept growing, their walks became less frequent, going from every day to every week, and sometimes even every other week. But the most they had gone without taking a walk together was 2 weeks. It had become a routine, and it was hard when Bella had to move out for college and then when she got married. The walks didn't happen anymore, but they still made time to call each other pretty frequently. Why Bella hadn't told her mom about her marriage life was a mystery, but maybe subconsciously she felt like it wasn't something they could talk about over the phone. She wanted to be there with her parents in case they started worrying too much, which she was sure they would. When her mom asked her if she was okay, it felt like dams had opened. Everything that she was trying to keep in for so long came back up, and she didn't know how to handle it, but she didn't need to know. Her mom would know what to say and do, along with knowing precisely what Bella was feeling. That was one thing she loved about her mom. She didn't need to be told how to react in a situation. She knew herself, and it benefited Bella a lot, mainly because Bella was someone who always had a hard time verbalizing what she was feeling. That's exactly what was happening right now because as Bella was sobbing on the phone, her mom stayed quiet, reassuring Bella that she was here and that she wasn't alone, that no matter what the situation was, she didn't have to deal with it alone. That's exactly what Bella wanted to hear. She didn't want to listen to her mom tell her it would be okay because she didn't believe that right now and didn't care. All Bella was stressed about now was that she was alone, had no friends or family who lived in the same state as her, and no one to whom she could go. Bella didn't even have the money to return the tickets to her parents. When she got done crying, Bella took a deep breath and started explaining everything that had happened in the past 2 years. From the cheating, how she found out, how Mike reacted, and how he acted after that, to what had happened and what her situation was. In mid-explanation, Bella had to take multiple pauses to control herself, feeling like she would start sobbing any minute. When she was done explaining, there was silence on the other end of the call for over a minute before she heard her mom sniff and say, "Oh, my poor baby, I'm so sorry you had to go through all that alone." The softness in her mother's voice made her tear up again. She missed her parents so much. All she wanted to do right now was go to their house and cuddle her parents while having a movie night. Just like they did when she was young, when she had gone through her first heartbreak, gotten a bad grade, or lost a friend. Every bad moment in her life was magically made better by being in her parents' arms. Her mom had called her dad over and explained the situation to him, and they had to work together to calm her dad down because he was ready to hunt Mike down and bury him alive for hurting her precious baby girl. She told them about her financial status and how she was planning on applying for jobs to get back on her foot again. She also said to them that she feared she wouldn't be able to live in this state since it would take a while to get a job and it would start paying after a month. Bella did think that she could start as a waitress at a cafe or something like that to be able to afford food for her children. Still, her parents insisted that even if she took these jobs to help with finances, she'd need more than that for at least until her income was stable, so to let them help her for a few months by sending her money and whatever she needed. At first, she refused, talking about how she could handle it and figure it out independently. Still, Even she could hear how stupid she sounded, so after a bit of reluctance, she finally agreed to take their help, enough so that Bella and her kids could continue living comfortably. After reassuring them that she was okay enough to hang up the phone, Bella got up from the living room and went towards the kitchen to grab herself from the water before dragging herself towards her bedroom. All while thinking about how different their lives would be now, and how there would be a lot of things that she's going to have to go through or handle without the regular support of Mike, motivating her to keep going, and that she's got it. Thinking about all that made her start crying again as she lay in bed, looking over to Mike's side, looking at the emptiness it was bringing, and then towards the safe that used to be filled with money, but now was empty. Her life had changed in less than a day, and she didn't even think it had completely set in till she talked to her parents. She ought to be angry at Mike, but all she felt was pain and sorrow. Where did she go wrong? What area was she lacking in that Susan managed to fulfill? All these thoughts were swimming inside her head, making it difficult for her to fall asleep. Eventually, she managed to cry to sleep, but it felt like she had barely slept for an hour before she had to wake up again to send the kids to school. Dragging herself out of bed, she managed to get to the bathroom, and as soon as she saw herself in the mirror, her heart froze. She looked miserable, and it had barely been a day. Her hair was sticking up in all directions, her eyes puffy and red from all the crying she did last night, and looking down, she noticed that she was still wearing the clothes she had worn when she went to pick the kids up. Hopping in the shower, Bella quickly cleaned herself. She made herself look presentable before going to the kids' bedroom and waking them up, sending them in the shower to wash up and get ready for school, while Bella went to the kitchen to prepare breakfast. While she was chopping up the fruits for the kids, her phone dinged, and she picked it up to see a notification that showed how much money her parents had sent her. Her eyes bulged out when she saw the digits. It was enough to live a comfortable life, paying for groceries, mortgage, and even some extras for at least 2 months. Perks of being a daughter of a CEO, Bella thought. She heard footsteps coming down the stairs, so she quickly kept her phone down and finished preparing lunch before getting out the cereal and milk and setting them on the island. As soon as the kids sat down, they looked at Bella before Sam asked her if Dad was gone. Bella sighed. She knew her kids were brilliant, and she would have to explain everything to them. But right now wasn't the time. They'd be late for school, so Bella told them that their dad had left forever before, reassuring them that she would never leave them and that she would always protect them. Her kids were intelligent, understanding, and held great emotional capacity. They came up to Bella after finishing their breakfast and hugged her from both sides before promising her they would help as much as possible and that Mommy shouldn't worry because we will help her and be strong. Bella had almost cried when she heard that, and she embraced both of them tightly before telling them that they were the best kids anyone could ever have and that Bella was lucky that she was blessed with them. She kissed their cheeks before grabbing to reach their backpacks and helping them put them on, rushing them to go outside since the bus was already here. When they had left for school, Bella took out her laptop, grabbed her breakfast, and started looking for jobs. She applied to multiple part-time jobs to capture while she looked for some full-time jobs in fashion companies. However, luck didn't seem to be on Bella's side because it looked like every fashion company she decided to look through had closed their applications and were no longer hiring. She almost lost all motivation to keep looking before she remembered her kids and willed herself to keep trying, that there had to be something she could get. This went on for a few days before Bella started to get stressed. She managed to get a job as a cashier in a local cafe, but that wasn't enough to take care of all her finances. The month was also about to be over, and she would only have enough money left to go through another month. She needed to do something, and she needed to do it quick. Her kids had understood what their mom was going through, because she noticed that they had stopped asking for snacks or takeout, eating whatever Bella offered them, even going as far as saying no when Bella asked if they wanted to have pizza that night, since she hadn't got them anything in a really long time. She was so proud of both of them, and didn't hesitate to show it. She would tell her kids how proud she was of them, and how lucky she felt that they were her kids almost every day. This went on for a while, and Bella had no clue what she was doing to do now. She had no ideas, and none of the jobs she found and applied for gave her any responses. She knew she could just ask her parents for more money. In fact, they offered it themselves every time they called to check up on her, but she didn't want to do that. Bella wanted to earn her own money and take care of her children all on her own. She was short on time, and it felt like she could hear the clock ticking right above her head all the time. Bella had a lot of free time during that period, and she wanted to use it to the best of her abilities, so she spent hours designing and making clothes for no one in particular. The main reason she was doing that and continued to do that was so her skills wouldn't get rusty after all these years. One day, when Bella was going through her closet, she found a bunch of clothes that she had designed when Hallie was a kid. Her closet was filled with multiple bags half the size of the door, with different outfits she had intended, like dresses, pants, shirts, swimwear, anything you could think of. She didn't want them in her closet anymore because of the space they were taking up, and had initially decided that she was going to donate all of them. They had been sitting in her room for days until one day, her daughter Hallie came up to her, holding a shirt from one of the donation bags, and asked her if she could buy it for $1. Bella had jokingly told her, "Of course, they're all for sale," before her mind suddenly clicked, and she jumped up from the sofa, grabbing Hallie's cheeks in her hands and telling her she was a genius, running away into her room, leaving Hallie to stand in the middle of the living room with a confused expression on her face. At the same time, Sam tried to control his laughter, sitting beside the sofa and building his Legos. Hallie had just given Bella a fantastic idea. She could sell all her clothes, which could earn her a lot of money. Why had she not thought about it? Bella ran into her room, took out all of the clothes and started counting them, immediately finding approximately 100 pieces of clothing. She opened her laptop, sat down on the beanbag, and started making an account on eBay. She grabbed her phone, hanging all her clothes on different hangers, making sure they didn't have creases in them or anything before taking pictures of them turning, while also taking pictures of herself while she wore those clothes. Unfortunately, most of the clothes Bella had made had been according to her size, but she had a few articles that could also fit different sizes. It took her the whole day to get the pictures ready and sorted, but before she knew it, it was time for the kids' bedtimes, and honestly, even Bella felt exhausted. So that night, after all, 3 of them had done their nightly routine. They had gathered in Bella's bed, room chilly and comfortable, an animated movie playing on the TV in front of the bed. It was a relaxing night, and all 3 of them drifted into dreamless sleep. The next day, she imported all the pictures from her phone to her laptop and started uploading all those clothes in a line. She kept the prices affordable, but not too much since she did have bills to pay. Soon enough, all 102 articles of clothing had been uploaded to her eBay account, and now she just had to wait. After uploading, she quickly closed her laptop before rushing to get dressed for work. She had gotten a babysitter for the few hours she would be away from work, so her kids wouldn't have to go around trying to find a place to stay while their mom worked. Since it wasn't a full-day nanny, the salary wasn't too much, and Bella could afford to pay her. Soon it was time to come home from work, and it was almost 6 p.m. when she returned. She greeted her kids as soon as she entered, said bye to the babysitter, and got to preparing dinner for all of them without even checking her phone. She opened her phone and was shocked to see what was in front of her. She hadn't looked at the website for the entire day, not having enough time to do so, and the curiosity and anxiousness were slowly killing her inside. She quickly made dinner, mac and cheese, just like the kids had requested, and all 3 started eating. Again, she wanted to check her phone while she was eating, but they have had a rule since day 1 that dinner time was family time and that no electronics were allowed on the table, and Bella couldn't break a rule that she had made herself, so she endured it for a tad bit longer. When they were done eating, she put the dishes in the dishwasher, cleaned the kitchen, and sat on the sofa while the kids sat on the floor, some Disney movie playing in the background while making Legos. Her clothes had already started getting sold, although only a couple were chosen until then. She knew it took a long time, and she was patient, still thankful that she had gotten orders on the very first day. She went to her room, took out the clothes that had been ordered, all 5 pieces by the same person, and started packing them, trying to make them look as pretty as possible. After she was done, and the kids had gone to bed, She set those clothes aside, making a mental note to mail them to the person first thing tomorrow morning before dozing off. After that order, things had been a little slow, with not many people ordering her clothes, and it was slightly demotivating her until a week later she woke up to notifications on her phone. She grabbed it off the nightstand to find the most shocking thing ever. Almost all of her clothes had been ordered, leaving only 10 articles that had not been claimed yet. All of this happened in one day, and Bella was shocked. She wasn't sure how it was possible. Still, she read one of the messages sent to her that informed her that the person whose name Bella found out to be Lily had ordered a couple of her clothing because she saw a famous YouTuber review her clothes, the same 5 pieces of clothing she'd sent on the first day, and had complimented it a lot. Lily had also attached a link to the video so Bella could watch it herself. She opened the video to find out that the person, Reviews B. Cassidy, who had reviewed her clothes, had over 106,000 subscribers and did frequent reviews of underrated clothing brands. Somehow, Cassidy had found her clothes on eBay and had given an amazing review. She spoke about how the quality of the material was unmatched, the fitting was perfect, and how comfortable it was, even giving it a 10/10 overall rating, something Bella found that she did in every video. Her reviews were known to be authentic, mainly because a lot of people followed her suggestions and ordered from the places that she did. In no time, all of her clothes had sold out, and people had started demanding that she should make new clothes and sell them, even that she should make different sizes as well, and who was Bella to say no to them? That same week, she went to the store to get all the supplies she needed and got to work, making and designing new clothing articles with different styles, patterns, and different sizes. She made sure to make a profile online to let people know she was working on creating new clothes and asking everyone to be patient, thanking them for the support they were showing. With that, Bella left her part-time job so she could focus more on designing her clothes and spent day and night working for over a month before she had enough to launch a new collection. She had also put up a timeline on her social media, preparing everyone to be ready for the drop, and when she finally released it, the entire collection was sold out in less than a week. With time, Bella slowly made more clothes, selling out every single collection that she dropped, which led her to expand her business, designing a room in her house that she made as her studio, where she made all her clothes from scratch and started selling them on the website that she had created a while back. She named her brand Girl Boss, which started gaining recognition nationwide. In less than a year, Bella earned more than she could have if she had worked for another company. Her business had expanded a great deal, with an entire building now under her name, multiple employees all working on designing, making, and selling the clothes, with another team that handles the marketing aspect of the company, dealing with photo shoots, models, and all that stuff, with Bella as the CEO. Her brand has also been invited for multiple photo shoots that covered a range of brands recognized worldwide. She was getting invited to interviews and gaining a lot of publicity. In no time, she was one of the most well-known clothing brands worldwide. Her kids had grown up, and she had given the life she always wanted to give them, and all of them couldn't be happier. Until Mike showed up again. Apparently, Susan had used him for his wealth, and as soon as he had gotten fired and lost most of his money, she had decided to leave him and never look back. He had contacted Bella by calling her, telling her he had gone to the house but couldn't find anyone. Of course, he couldn't find anyone. Bella could afford a much bigger and better home now, so why wouldn't she? Mike insisted that he wanted to meet them before they made a decision, and Bella knew they could not make this decision without asking the kids first, so that's exactly what she did. However, the kids told Bella that the decision was hers and that they would support her as long as she was happy, so she decided to let Mike come visit, telling him and herself that this was the last time he would ever be stepping in this house. His jaw dropped when he looked at the house when he came over. "How did you afford all of this? Did you marry a rich man?" he had asked, which made Bella incredibly angry. Leave it to Mike to underestimate women. When she told him she was the CEO of Girl Boss, he had to sit down due to shock. Susan was obsessed with that place, said it was branded, the most popular brand these days. Bella smirked when she heard that, so he knew how big she had gotten now. And he knew she didn't need him anymore. So she kindly escorted him out of the house or mansion without giving him more time to beg Bella to let him come back. "We don't need you anymore, Mike?" You lost us the day you left us with nothing in our hands. Isabella and her kids had a perfectly happy life, and they didn't need a cowardly man to intrude in their lives anymore. Goodbye." And with that, she closed the door, closing a chapter of her life that she never wanted to look back on, and continued moving away from the door without looking back.